Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main event.
Let's get ready to rumble! This one by Mattingly. Oh, hang on to the roof. Montana looking, wrong in the end zone. 5 seconds left in the game. Do you believe in miracles? Yes! Little roller up along first. Behind the man. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight and the Mets win it.
All right. Why isn't it working? Oh, there we go. Oh, man. Of course. So much stuff going on. All right. Hey, can you just hire somebody to be the producer over here? I really appreciate that. Sure. Thanks. All right. So this is Sports and Sorts, episode 171. We are here on a Monday morning. We usually go live every Monday and Saturday around 10-ish. So if you like our videos, if you like more of this content, be sure to give it a thumbs up and click on that subscribe button so you can find us whenever we go live. You can also find us on our website, which is www.sportsandsorts.libsyn.com. And you can find us wherever podcasts are played. I am one of the hosts. My name is Shane Moore.
And I'm the Brian Man.
And you can find us at Facebook, facebook.com/ShaneandtheBryman, on Twitter @ShaneandBryman, and we post all of our videos and other newsworthy topics. And lastly, if you comment during the show, we will put it on the screen and maybe talk about it. All right, so today, what we got talking about is OBJ to the Browns, and does that make the Browns the Super Bowl favorite? We also have baseball news. They have some new rules. We will give our thoughts on this particular topic, on all the new rules that are going to be happening in 2019 and 2020, and the potential new rules that could be following after the weird thing that they're doing in some kind of Atlantic Coast League, or I don't know where the heck it is, but it's some kind of weird league that they're trying out things like pitching from 2 feet behind where the rubber is now. It's like really absurd. And now, lastly, we're going to also touch on the Bryman's thoughts on Ryan Fitzpatrick landing in the Finn's lap. That big, beautiful beard.
That's an interesting way to put it.
Heading over to the Dolphins. Oh, and Clint's here. Hey, what's up, Clint? He's just saying Bills, Bills, Bills. I'm assuming he's super pumped for getting the not really the best number 3 wide receiver in football, but we did happen to get Cole Beasley. Woo! Cole Beasley.
It's a nice signing. I mean, I don't know if that's a good signing for that team, but I don't know. I feel like I'm actually shocked he didn't go to the Patriots.
He's a better rapper than he is a receiver. All right, so let's get into this show today.
You are listening to Sports and Sorts with Shane and the Bryman.
Because we got a great show.
Let's go. Rap on the side or something?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't
Cole
know
Beasley's a rapper, man. You didn't know that?
No.
Dude flows.
Is that real?
He flows. Yes, it's real. All right. So let's get into it. First things first. OBJ. Odell Beckham Jr. lands over in Cleveland in a surprise trade that kind of took everybody's storm by about a week ago.
Well,
so, especially
when, what was it, the Giants general manager said we are not trading. Yeah. We are not looking to trade Odell Beckham Jr. at all. What was that, Gettleman, right? He was basically on record as saying we're not trading him, and then here we are.
Well, how many times? You can't trust any general manager. You can't trust any owner because they're going to do what is best for them and the team. So if something happens to drop in their lap, or they just decide they want to.
Anybody in sports when they say anything like this at all. There's so many examples of guys saying I'm not doing this or I'm not doing that, and then there they are.
That would be like, if Derek Jeter, for instance, and this is absolutely the worst case scenario in life, in history, if this ever happened. if he ever said something along when he was like in a free agent year in a contract, and he was like, "Oh, I'm never ever going to sign with the Red Sox," but then the Red Sox come out and throw $400 million at him when everybody else is throwing 170. What do you think he's going to do?
Yeah. There's just way too many people on record as saying this. Nick Saban said the same thing when he was the Dolphins head coach. He said, and I quote, "I'm not going to be the Alabama head coach." Well, how many years later and how many national champiomships later?
And how many college coaches say, "Oh, I'm not going to leave college," or how many NFL coaches, "Oh, I'm not going back to college."
College coaches are the worst.
Yeah.
They are the worst. Not to mention that's the most corrupt industry.
And not only that, but they're like, "Oh, I'm never going to leave this organization." And like 3 weeks later, "Oh, I'm leaving this organization to go to a different college."
Right. Right. Yeah. No.
It happens all the time. But anyway, so the Cleveland Browns, they land Odell Beckham Jr. They have Jarvis Landry. They have Njoku. They have their quarterback of the future.
They will have Kareem Hunt after 8 games. They have Nick Chubb already, who's a tremendous running back.
Yeah, and they're going to have Kareem Hunt, who is one of the top 5 running backs in the game.
Right. So he's been suspended for 8 games, so he'll be ready.
He'll be back after 8 games.
So
are they not at least a favorite to get close to the Super Bowl? I mean, they have to be, right? I mean, they are. Baker Mayfield he had one of the greatest rookie seasons of a quarterback of all time.
Their defense is good. I will say that. Their defense is really good. Here's the thing. Look, it's an embarrassment of riches on the offensive side. No question about it. Their defense is very solid, probably capable of winning a championship because, I think we've seen enough in the last few years to know that, you can get by with a decent middle-of-the-road defense and win a title.
Yeah.
To me, the biggest issue here is we've seen this so many times, but nothing is ever as good as it looks on paper, ever. It's great that you can put together teams like this, and everything, but let's also keep in mind Baker Mayfield is now only going into his 2nd season, okay? So we can't get too crazy here. We can't get too crazy here with him. Yes, he looked good last year. He clearly showed you signs that he's capable of being a franchise quarterback, but this is too much too soon, in my opinion.
Well, not only that, but he never had to deal with somebody like Odell Beckham Jr.
Right, and he's gonna find out now. And those are 2 pretty strong personalities going at each other. I mean, at least when it was Odell Beckham and Eli is a very, he's a very reserved guy, he's a quiet guy. He is very it's probably a good way to describe him. So they can probably balance each other well because they're not going to be barking at each other. And there's not, with Eli, there's not a.
Maybe Odell needs somebody to bark at him. Shut the hell up and play. Stop yelling.
It could either work out well or it could implode. I mean, but what Baker Mayfield is going to have to do, like all quarterbacks, you have to assert yourself as the leader of this team. Mm-hmm. You're in year 2 now, so you're not a rookie anymore. It's your team. You have to assert yourself as the captain of this team. You're playing the most important position of sports, and when you're in that huddle, you have to look all those guys in the eye and remind them of who you are and who they are.
Right.
He's the man. He's the man there, and he's the guy that this franchise is clearly behind. Nobody's the man. That's the man. Baker Mayfield's just the man on the team, but Becky Lynch is the man. But look, so it's a little too soon for me. I will say this though: they have to be the favorites to win that division. Mm-hmm. They have to be. Because the Steelers have just lost too much. I mean, I'm sorry. Look, they're still going to be really good because you've got Ben, you've got Juju, you've got James Conner. There's still a real solid core there. Mm-hmm. But you have lost a significant amount if you're the Steelers. You really have. And let's be honest, the Steelers' defensive woes are going to continue because they haven't done anything this offseason.
No.
The other reason why I can't really say that the Browns are favorites for me in this conference is because, one, again, the Patriots are just not going anywhere. They're not. The Patriots plug and play. That's all they do. They lose guys. You think it's going to be the end of the world for them, and it never is. They still keep winning. They still keep coming. That train keeps on moving. There's no stopping it. So anybody who says any team other than the Patriots is the favorite in the AFC, to me, is a little bit misguided. If you want to make an argument for the Chiefs, I understand that. But the way I would list it is Patriots, Chiefs, Colts, Browns. And what's scary about the Colts is the Colts are already a really good team They have $94.5 million to play with under the cap. That's just insane. And they were not actually active in that first week of free agency. So whatever model the Colts are doing here, it's tremendous, which is hard to believe because their owner is a complete and total drunk and an imbecile. But they are well coached. Your boy Frank Reich is a great coach, and I really like what I'm seeing out of the Colts. It does surprise me that they weren't a little more active in free agency. I think maybe the Colts are going to look into that second tier. But no matter what, going into this season, the Colts are going to be at least like $60 million under the cap unless they start spending big money. So I would have to have those three teams at least ahead of the Browns, because to me the Browns are still a prove it kind of team.
Yeah. Well, I am. This is just a very interesting scenario that could pop up, because if you have the Browns versus the Patriots at some point in time, they're like two opposite ends of the spectrum. Because you have OBJ, who's a loudmouth, Baker Mayfield, who's a loudmouth, Jarvis Landry, who's not a loudmouth, but you have two like number one wide receivers. These are like big names. And like, granted, Jarvis Landry's not probably a top number one wide receiver, but he's in the top 10. He is a really got great hands, catches a lot of balls.
Catches a ton of balls, yeah.
Catches a ton of balls, and he's fast. He's got it all. He's a very good wide receiver.
Odell
Beckham Jr. is one of the most talented. I don't know if he hasn't really necessarily put it all together, because he does drop a lot of balls. But with those two guys, now you have two huge names in addition to your big name. We'll call him a big name quarterback because he's just been in the media like a ton. With Baker Mayfield, and then you have Njoku, and then you have Kareem Hunt coming back. Like, you have all these huge names as going against the Patriots, who don't have all those huge names, and they just have the Brady and Belichick, two guys, and
that's all you need.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see how that plays out, because I don't know. This is going to be very interesting, very interesting. Ronnie Piro's back. Ronnie's here, and he said, "I'm happy the Patriots didn't get Golden Tate."
Me too.
So, yeah, I think everybody's happy that
I'm happy the Patriots didn't get Golden Tate or Cole Beasley, but again,
Cole Beasley. Woo! He better show me something. I have always bashed on this guy. He better be that slot guy that we've really wanted, but I don't see it. I don't see it, man. I don't see it.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right. So you think that they're gonna make noise this year, the Browns?
Oh, again, I'm absolutely installing them as the favorites to win the AFC North. Will they make noise in the playoffs though? I mean, they could. It's just so hard. You got to see this team together. Mm-hmm. And it's gonna take time to gel. Chemistry is gonna have to, and again, I always get worried when teams do stuff like this, when they put together what look to be all-star teams. Yeah. And then, next thing you know,
it always works. Always.
Yeah, it always works out well. So, again, I'm saying they're favorites to win the division. I'm sure they probably will be my pick to win the division. Mm-hmm. But
I'm guaranteeing they'll be my pick.
I can't go beyond that. I can't go beyond that at this point, because I need to see it. I'm a prove it guy. I need to see it happen. Once I see it happen, then I'll be on board. But I still think they'll win the division,
because they're going to get the first division. Yeah, they're going to get the first 8 games with Odell Beckham and Jarvis Landry, and they're going to throw them they're going to get them a ton of action, and then the 8th game is going to be done. Then they're going to be able to give them a little bit of a rest, because Kareem Hunt's going to come there. They're going to get his legs working, and then they're going to go into the playoffs, and they're going to be firing on all cylinders. That's what I see in my head, from what I see on paper. So, it'll just be very interesting to see how it all plays out.
Yep.
Very interesting.
Yeah.
It's going to be such a high-flying team. They should score a ton of points, and they have a decent defense.
It will absolutely be very, very fun to watch. I will say that.
Either if they perform the way that they should, or if they don't, because then they're going down in flames, and I can't wait to see what Odell Beckham Jr. does in that clubhouse.
Yeah, you're right. One way or another, it should be a pretty good story, to be honest.
Because if they go 8-8, that's not going to fly. That's not going to fly. So. No. All right, let's head on over to the next topic, and let's get into baseball.
Play ball!
Because there have been some very interesting rule changes. Are there any in particular that have intrigued you? Like, do you like the, basically no trading, no waiver trades in August, all in August, and just capping it off at July? You can drop people in August and you can pick people up that way, but you can't make trades in August.
Yeah,
that's an interesting one. I don't care about that.
I don't care about that either. That doesn't really bother me.
I'm fine with that. That doesn't make an issue to me whatsoever.
That doesn't move the needle for me.
Any of them? Anything that popped up that really moves the needle?
Yeah. The 3-batter minimum.
Okay. All right. That is kind of
absolutely
annoying.
despise this. I despise this. I think this is a disaster. And Yoda agrees with me. I think it's an absolute. I was just looking at the ring. Somebody just dropped off a package. This 3-batter minimum thing it's going to wreck games. It's absolutely going to wreck games.
It does add a new mindset.
And I think it takes away. Some people could argue that it adds to strategy. In a sense, I would argue that it probably takes away strategy. I mean, you can see it. I guess you can see both sides of the coin.
Both sides. I really can. It doesn't kill me, but it does aggravate me a little.
It essentially takes away the specialist role, and bullpens are all about specialists.
Well, maybe they
now you're saying that a guy like any kind of a left-hander that you would normally want to bring in to get a lefty out, you got to hope that he can get a couple other guys out too. Now, maybe it's not so bad if you go into a portion of the lineup where maybe 2 out of the 3 guys coming up are lefty, and that's fine. But then again, see, here's the problem I have. You have a 3-batter minimum for the relievers, right? Mm-hmm. But the opposing coach, can adjust to that and put in righties, and there's no limitations on that.
Right.
So there's no limitations on what the opposing manager can do.
Basically saying your pitchers better be able to get both sides out.
Exactly.
So you put your best pitcher in.
So you've automatically given the advantage to the team on offense.
Not necessarily, because if you put in your best pitcher, they should be able to get them out. Like that, it's instead of going away from the specialist and bringing him in for 1 batter or 1 pitch, you're essentially bringing in a pitcher that can hopefully get all 3 batters out.
Right, so there is some strategy there, because then you have to sort of... It does change entirely how you manage the game going into the later innings.
Yes.
Because if you have a starter who's maybe only giving you... you can tell he's kind of laboring. He's maybe going to give you 6 innings, 3 runs, something like that. And then you got to start to work into the bullpen, maybe even, in that 6th inning. Mm-hmm. You have to start thinking about those real later innings. When you're going to have, when you're maybe nursing a tight lead or you're in a tie game, and you have to think, okay, well, here's a spot where, if you want to maybe use the Yankees for an example, you could say, well, here's a spot where I'd like to bring Chad Green in, but I don't know if I should bring Chad Green in now. I may need to hold him back for the 8th instead of putting him in the 7th, because that's going to be a more critical inning, because that's when the team is going to have the big pop and the big thump in their lineup coming up. I mean, don't get me wrong. It does. You're right. Now that I think about it, it probably does increase strategy a little bit, but I hate it does take away some strategy too, though, in that in-game process where, you bring in a reliever and then you start mixing and matching guys. And that is pretty much now going to be a thing of the past. The whole mixing and matching thing is 3-batter minimum.
I'm kind of okay. It aggravates me a little bit because it takes away from the past of what we've been able to do. But
the question
this is something that just happened. This is something that's relatively new.
Do you really think, and maybe it will a little bit, but I'll be curious at the end of the season to see the average time of a game, this year versus prior.
I don't
years.
think this year is going to.
Well, I mean, not this. I'm sorry, not this year. Next year, 2020. Excuse me.
Yeah, I think this year we'll probably have.
I'll be curious
this year
because
I mean, I think this year
is a time-saving measure. That's why baseball's doing this. Because
my guess is you'll probably lose about 3 to 5 minutes this year, and then probably another 3 to 5 minutes the next year, maybe a little bit more.
Here's my problem. Ultimately my biggest problem with it, and I think former Yankees reliever Jeff Nelson, I think, may have said this on Twitter a few days ago, because I saw a lot of comments about this when this was going down, and I wholeheartedly agree with him. Stop trying to rush baseball along. Baseball is the one sport that does not have a clock. So why are we trying to enforce time-saving elements to it? People know. Look, you and I have been baseball fans our entire lives, right? Has the time of a game stopped us from going to games? Or from watching games, except for on the West Coast. I mean, when the Yankees go to the West Coast, it drives us bonkers because we're up at 10 o'clock, and it's like, oh, great, first pitch at 10:05.
Yeah.
This is my favorite.
Yeah.
But I mean, look, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you're on a West Coast game, and the game is going to start at 10:05 no matter what. I'm likely not staying up to watch that entire game.
Yeah, but there's not many of us.
No, but I understand. I know, but you get into that whole thing, the average family can't do this and can't do that.
Yeah.
Look, bottom line is
there's a lot of fans that won't even stay up till 9 o'clock to finish watching a 7 o'clock game.
But is this really going to dramatically change?
If the games can finish by 9:30, I think
we'll see. If this is the kind of thing that can knock a half. But here's the other flip side of it though. Pitcher comes in, doesn't have it, and he has a 3-batter minimum, and he's healthy and not hurt. And he's getting tattooed, that inning's going to last a long time.
Well, but not only 3 batters.
Well, I'm trying.
So
I guess
it's one of those. I don't know. It's a thing that it could shorten the game because if it doesn't work out, it could blow it up, and there you go, boom, done. He's out.
I agree. I agree with Nelly that this game was the one. Baseball's the one sport that was never built with a clock.
Now I know it wasn't, but the problem is that all the other sports take less time, and they have found a way to make it more TV friendly, and baseball hasn't been able to figure it out. And baseball needs to, otherwise they are going to quickly. They're just gonna keep declining in ratings. And maybe
this is another one of those things where I need to see it before I can really truly judge it. Like I want to see how it plays itself out.
I think that the biggest problems are if you go to what they're trying out in the Atlantic Coast League or the Atlantic League, whatever it is, the whatever it is over there that they're doing. Have you heard about
the California Penal League?
Yes, the California Penal League, where there are some things that they're implementing that I think great. Fantastic. The umpire will be assisted by a radar system that tracks where the balls and strikes in the zone. Baseball did not elaborate on how the systems called TrackMan would be used, whether umpires could consult if they choose, or the overall calls are made by the umpires. They didn't say.
That's not very PC. They better call that Track Person.
All right, so
I wouldn't call it TrackMan. That's a disaster waiting to happen.
You can't call it Track Person either. You got to call it Track It, because.
Right, because you don't know how the tracker identifies.
So now we have, they also have no players or coaches will be allowed to visit the mound unless pitching changes are being made. The move would seem designed to speed games, which can be slowed by frequent conferences on the mound. I agree with that. There are sometimes way too many. Clint says shorten games to 8 innings.
Shorten games. All right, well, if we're going to shorten games to 8 innings, can we throw in a mercy rule too? How about the mercy rule?
10 runs? 10
runs. Yeah, 10 runs. If you're up by 10 runs after, the 7th? We won't call it the 7th? Game's over?
No, you can't do that. Because the game's never over in Major Leagues. It's happened a few times. So
yes, I know. You're right. The Yankees have been against Baltimore last year.
All right, so let's see. Pitchers will be required to face a minimum of 3 batters. That is something that is also being proposed in the major leagues for next. That's going in? That's in the future.
No, that's approved, right?
That's approved for the 2020.
That's 2020. Right?
Defensive shifts will be limited, as teams will be required to have 2 players on each side of the second base.
I hate that too.
I love that.
I know you do, because I know you think the shift is the devil, but I don't.
I don't think the shift is the devil. I think the problem is that teams have been stupid and they have not tried to hit against the shift. And if they're not going to do that, and they're just going to keep playing. Batting averages are going down. Game's less exciting, and fans are going to start turning off the TV because people are striking out, which is exciting for pitching. But if strikeouts happen so frequently, it's not as exciting. If you're going to have if there's going to be a ton of pitchers that have 15 to 18 Ks in a game, it's not as exciting because it happens too often. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's one of those things that nobody has changed. Like, the offense has not changed, which is unfortunate. And I think that if they don't change, then they have to do something to help the sport along. So I don't know. But I mean, I can see both sides of it though. Then there is time between innings will be reduced to 1 minute and 45 seconds from 2:05, right? And they're gradually changing that. This year, I think it's going from 2:05 to 2, and then there's a chance that it could go down to 1:55. This is the one. If they implement this, I don't know what I'll do. I don't know. The distance from the pitcher's rubber to home plate will be increased to 62 feet 6 inches, a 2-foot increase. Such move would be an aid to batters and would presumably cut down on strikeouts, which have drastically increased in recent years. Now, I am all about.
I don't even remember seeing that one. Yeah. That's a disaster.
So, and that is why. Why is it a disaster?
You're completely. Oh my God.
The main disaster is you already have 1 million arm injuries. You're going to have even more. I can't increase that. People are going to be throwing their arms out all the time. There's not going to be a rotation.
You're adding another 2 feet. That's bad idea. That's bad. That's not approved, is it? Is that a proposal?
They're doing it in the Atlantic League.
They're doing that
testing it out. Yeah.
Oh, I don't like that one. I don't like that. I mean, I agree. It definitely helps the offense of the game. I mean,
but you're going to have so many more arm injuries, like Tommy John surgery.
Yeah,
it's just going to be a your rotation's going to be in shambles.
See, now what's funny is that a lot of these rules sort of contradict themselves because a lot of what you're trying to do supposedly is shorten the game, right?
Yeah.
If you extend the mound by 2 feet, you're going to reduce the amount of outs that are being made, and you're going to increase the amount of offense, which is going to extend the time of an inning, and thus extend the time of the game.
There's only two things that I think that should be done.
A lot of these are contradictory.
There's only two things that I think that really should be done. I think that limiting shifts is one. You could be allowed to do a shift a couple of times a game. You could have, 3 times, whatever you want to do.
As long as they don't get rid of the shift in its entirety.
I think if you're allowed to do like 3 shifts a game, that's fine. And then you can implement it when you need to. And then I think the other thing is the track it.
Right.
The track it. I think that should be implemented because, and even though the umpires get it right about like 93% of the time, we're at a level now where everybody can see the strike zone clearly because of
not only that, but we're using technology in so many other areas and so many other sports. It seems kind of asinine not to employ this.
If you're looking
it can really help the game.
If you're looking to get arguments with balls and strikes taken away a little bit, that gets rid of it.
It does.
If you're looking to get rid of that,
right? You're right. It's black and white. Right. There's no gray area.
Right. You can't argue with.
It either is a strike or it isn't.
You can't argue with track it.
Right.
All right. So, and then the other one is all infield bases, first, second, and third, will be increased in size to 18 inches from 15 inches. Larger bases would provide more room for both the fielder and the runner to have a part of the bag.
Yeah, okay. I don't have a problem with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's weird, but I could see how could increase stolen bases, I guess, a little bit. It could, because you get there a couple inches earlier.
Yeah.
I mean,
such a lost art, but
yeah, I mean. MLB said it would consider changing or dropping some of the rules at the halfway point in the midseason, depending on their effectiveness. MLB has a 3-year deal with the Atlantic League covering selling of players, scouting, statistics, and other matters.
Yeah, okay. I mean, to me, the biggest disaster one there is the increasing the distance from the mound.
I mean, it just seems so stupid.
Yeah.
Like, absurd. Absolutely absurd. Like, you are really going to... You are going to affect the game because you're not going to have any pitchers available.
To me, that's worse than the 3-batter.
Because it's not like people are going to start like, oh, we're 2 feet further. Should probably not throw as hard. No, they're going to try throw even harder.
Yeah. Clint said that tie games should be decided by a home run derby.
Yeah, like penalty
kicks in
kicks.
soccer. Yeah. That'd be fun. You want to talk about...
can you imagine like getting like the 13th inning and that's what you do?
Well, I mean, if you think about it...
In the regular season, not in the postseason.
I know we laugh at that, right? Because it's baseball, and a lot of us purists of baseball will say that's just ridiculous. Yeah. But, I mean, if you think about it, this is what they do in soccer, which is globally the most followed sport on the planet. In hockey, there's an overtime shootout. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is what they do. I mean, if you go past overtime, you go into a shootout. Mm-hmm. So it's not really out of the realm.
Yeah. That's not absurd.
It's actually not. To me, it's actually less absurd than a 62-foot, 6-inch mound.
But that could add an element to the game that could be kind of fun.
It would be. I mean, I guess here's what I would say, though, is when it comes to the playoffs, though.
You can't. No, not in the playoffs.
You turn it off in the playoffs, right?
It's a regular season thing. To shorten the regular season.
And actually, just like in hockey, I believe actually they don't do that that's a regular season.
It's just to shorten the regular season games because that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to the regular season trying to incorporate more.
I'll tell you what, that would be fun. It's strange for me to say because I am such a purist, but I'll tell you what, I hate games going 18 innings. That's just absurd.
I know.
And it really can ruin you for like an entire week.
Yeah. Because
you could just max out your pitching stat. So but what
it can ruin you as a human, like me, because I'm shot for 3 days afterwards.
Right,
too.
Exactly. Now, I guess the question is, if you were going to implement a home run derby, what's the cutoff? What inning? Is it the 13th?
I don't know.
Like, what's the number? Like, where does an extra inning game start to get absurd?
I don't know.
You know what would be fun about it too, is that like, let's say it was the 13th. You start to get to like the 11th inning, and as a fan, you're kind of rooting like, oh, I hope this goes another 2 innings so I can see the whole.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, I gotta admit,
fans will be bummed when like somebody wins it, and they're like, so close.
I mean, Clint, I don't know if you were throwing that out as a joke, but I actually think it's kind of a brilliant idea.
It is. I think it's a good one. I think it's the more you think about it, the kind of like, okay, yeah.
I mean, imagine like a Yankee-Red Sox game in the regular season coming down to a home run derby, and it'd be like Judge up against JD Martinez or something.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Like, that'd be bonkers. That would be bonkers. That's.
We got to submit it. We got to submit it to the MLB.
I do like it. I do like it. Most people would probably be like, that is the worst idea ever. But I don't know. I like it. If you want to talk about increasing, if you want to talk about enhancing the game and getting more people to follow
it during the regular season.
I mean, look at how exciting the actual home run derby is.
Yeah.
I can tell you, having seen 3 of them live, the home run derby is a blast.
Yeah.
It's, no pun intended, it's awesome. It's
especially the new way they do it. The new way they do it is like phenomenal.
And I have seen some. I have been lucky enough to be present at 2 of the best home run derbies I believe ever, which was the 2008 one when Josh Hamilton won bonkers and Yankee Stadium was up for grabs, and last year's with Bryce Harper, the hometown guy, winning it in DC. Mm-hmm. That was great. It was really great. I don't actually even remember because I went to the All-Star game in 2013 when it was at Citi Field, and I don't even remember who won that one.
Judge, right? Didn't Judge win it?
No, Judge didn't win the one I was at. No, that was Citi. No, Judge won in 2017. Yeah,
I thought you went back-to-back years. Oh, okay.
No.
Gotcha. All right. So, okay. So, yeah, that I'm all for that. We should submit that. Submit that to the MLB. All right. Let's get on to the last topic, and we're gonna go back to football for a second here. Because the Bryman has the quarterback of the future.
Well, the quarterback of the next 16 games.
Yeah. Ryan Fitzpatrick landing in the Finn's lap. And
Fitzpatrick coming to Miami.
Fitztanking for Tua.
Fitztanking for Tua, yeah.
That's what you called it, yes.
I did. I actually got I got about 15 or so likes on that one yesterday on Twitter. I think I had responded to one of the Dolphins beat writers, and I said Fitztanking for Tua, and
you just got to hope that he gets that, because he always starts off. He'll get like that 4 or 5 wins, but then he'll get
that actually is what worries me a little bit. Like, is he actually bad enough for this to work? because he could accidentally win 4 or 5 games. And anything above...
He'll get you 4 games.
Yeah, and that might be too many, because the Dolphins have to have the number 1 pick.
Oh, well...
Because, look, they're going to have the 13th pick this year. Okay, but the 13th pick this year is not getting you Kyler Murray, and it's probably not getting you Dwayne Haskins. It might get you Drew Lock, and I do like Drew Lock, because Drew Lock, with his gunslinging mentality, reminds me of a poor man's Brett Favre a little bit. So I do kind of like him. But I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback. Here's the thing, though. If you're the Dolphins, and you do draft a quarterback, if they like Drew Lock, and Drew Lock is sitting there at 13, and they draft him, well, you have to play him. So Ryan Fitzpatrick then becomes your backup.
Yeah.
Because you absolutely, positively cannot draft a rookie quarterback if you're the Dolphins and not start him. Especially if it's a first-round pick. If you draft a guy like Will Grier in the 3rd round or something like that from West Virginia, okay, fine. That's not a guy that you necessarily have to start. But if you draft a guy in the 1st round, if it's Locke or if Haskins somehow does fall to you, because the Giants have actually said that they're not interested in Haskins, although I'll believe that when I see it. But if a guy like Haskins falls to you and the Dolphins like him and you pick him, well, then you have to start him, and then Fitzpatrick becomes your backup. If everything stands as it is now and the Dolphins just grab in the 1st round one of these defensive linemen or something like that, which they're probably going to do because it's a really deep defensive line draft. It's a really deep line draft in general, offense and defense. And that's good for the Dolphins because they're going to need a lot of those guys. Their offensive line isn't even complete right now. I think the Dolphins have about 2/5 of their offensive line decided. So they have at least 3 gaps to fill there. And then on the defensive line, kind of the same. So the Dolphins really need to load up on linemen in this draft. Now, if you're Ryan Fitzpatrick, here's the good news, though, as far as the tank goes.
Yeah.
Because Ryan Fitzpatrick is going to be playing behind an absolute sieve of an offensive line. He's going to get crushed. I actually kind of feel a little bit bad for him because he's going to be on his back a lot. He's going to be running for his life a lot. This offensive line is going to be really bad. He is absolutely going to be on the run. So this tanking for Tua thing is real. Of course, the Dolphins brass will never say that because no team ever says we're tanking. They just, they let their actions really speak louder than words. But no team, can you imagine the beating you would take if you actually went out there as a team and said, we're not going to be good and we're not going to try to be good. We have our eyes on Tua, and we want him, so we're going to try and lose as many games as possible. You get killed. Even though most of the Dolphins media is actually kind of on board with it.
You keep talking because I'll be right back. I got to go answer the door.
You'd get killed if you actually did it. So the Dolphins are not, going to outwardly say we're going to tank. But I do feel for Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's going to take an absolute beating this year. He's going to be on his back so much, looking up at the lights. And if the Dolphins do draft a rookie quarterback, there's a really good chance that they'll have to play that rookie quarterback at some point in the season because Fitzpatrick's probably going to get injured at some point throughout the year. So the Dolphins are 100% in full tank mode. I would say anything less than getting the first pick is kind of a disaster because whoever has the number 1 pick next year is almost certainly taking Tua. I don't think that any team in that top spot is going to be taking anybody with Tua. And if you're the Dolphins, do you want the second guy, which as Clint pointed out, is probably Justin Herbert, the guy from Oregon. I don't want him. I want Tua. If the Dolphins are going to suck and suck bad, they need to be like a 1-win team, and they need to grab Tua. So I'm on board with this. I'm glad they're doing it. As we know, the concept of tanking is a media and a fan thing. It's not a team organization thing. The Dolphins are going to try and go out and win some games, but I think it's fairly obvious by what they're doing that they're not going to win many games. Again, I think they're doing the right thing. I do want to touch a little bit on the Teddy Bridgewater decision because this fascinates me a little bit. So Teddy Bridgewater over the weekend made the decision to re-sign with the New Orleans Saints for 1 year as a backup instead of signing with his hometown Dolphins. He is actually from the Miami area. He lives, I think he trains in Davie, which is where the Dolphins training facility is. And the Dolphins assigned a value to him, and I think it was only 2 years in the $10 million range, and I think Teddy Bridgewater was looking for something like starter money. But the bottom line is that that decision, I have to say, perplexes me, because Teddy Bridgewater had a chance to be the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins, and instead he chose to be a backup again for another year because of what he deemed as the position that puts him in the best chance. It offers him the best chance to succeed long term. Here's the problem. There is no absolute guarantee that Drew Brees is retiring after this year, because if Drew Brees plays as well as he did last year, why would he retire? Unless he just says, I'm done. But even if Drew Brees does retire after this year, there are absolutely no guarantees at all that you are the heir apparent to that job, that Sean Payton is just going to hand over that job to you. You gave up an opportunity to be a starting quarterback. The Dolphins were going to sign him to a 2-year deal. If you're Teddy Bridgewater and you say, you know what, I'm cool with just holding a clipboard for another year, as opposed to wanting to start, there are 32 starting jobs in the NFL. Teddy Bridgewater guaranteed had one. Here's the thing. There were two guarantees going into this with Teddy Bridgewater. Guarantee number one, he was absolutely positively going to be the Dolphins starting quarterback if he signed that contract. Guarantee number two, he is not going to be the New Orleans Saints starting quarterback. There's zero chance of that, barring injury. So Teddy Bridgewater took a 1-year, $7 million deal to hold a clipboard for Drew Brees again. And here's the other thing with Teddy Bridgewater. Yeah, he's 26, but you know what? Every year that goes by that he doesn't start, the sands through the hourglass keep falling a little bit more, just a little bit more. And eventually, Teddy Bridgewater is going to be a guy that teams look at and say, this is not a leader of men. This is not a guy who wants to be a starting quarterback. He wants to hold a clipboard. And I'll tell you what, as a Dolphin fan, I like Teddy Bridgewater, but the bottom line is I think the Dolphins may have dodged a little bit of a bullet there, because I don't want a guy who doesn't want to be a starter and who's just content with holding Drew Brees' clipboard for another year. Even if, again, there's no guarantee. First of all, there's not even a guarantee that Sean Payton's going to be the coach after this year. There are rumors swirling out there that he might be the Dallas Cowboys' next coach if this doesn't work out with Jason Garrett. Because at some point, Jerry Jones is going to expect Jason Garrett to win a Super Bowl. And if he doesn't do that, he will replace him. Jerry Jones is a results-driven guy. He's been very patient with Jason Garrett, but at some point, that time on that is going to expire too. So the bottom line is there were no guarantees for Teddy Bridgewater whatsoever that he was going to be the Saints quarterback. And there still are not. The only guarantee that I could have made you, or that anybody could have made Teddy Bridgewater, is that you are guaranteed, barring injury, to be the Dolphins starting quarterback next year. Even if the Dolphins draft a guy, even if the Dolphins drafted Drew Lock or a Haskins with that first-round pick, Teddy Bridgewater would have been the starting quarterback no matter what. To me, Teddy Bridgewater told you a lot about himself in this decision, and I think he made the wrong decision. I got to be honest, I really think he made the wrong decision. So, as we're going out, wow, you really made me work there. Unbelievable. As we're going out, though, Cliff did have another question. He said, Ryan, can Buffalo win the division? Same thing, Ed Oliver, that's a guy. Ed Oliver or Montez Sweat. I don't know. Clint, I'll tell you what. The Jets got a lot better. The Bills got incrementally better. I still think, though, even if you get a guy like Ed Oliver, he has a monster season, gives you maybe like 8 to And so hard to see pick against the Patriots. I said it all last year. I'm not going to pick against the Patriots until they get here to do so. And we're just not there. Not there yet. But I'll tell you what. Much as I hate the vote, you tell me the division. Oh man, I'll throw a party. That just means anybody but the Patriots, and I'm 100% with that. Shane is talking. I'm a fan. I'm running. This isn't much of a Well, anyways. You can find me, the Fly Man, on Twitter, _5. You can find Shane Moore at 9. And we will be back on Saturday morning. Hope Saturdays have been off and on, but we should be back live around 10 a.m. Shane, is there anything else you want to add at all, or do you want me to just? Got anything else you want to drop?
Yeah, I do. I do want to drop.
How did I do?
There are older men that like younger women.
Oh,
there are younger women that like older men.
Are you an older man that likes younger women?
I'm an older man that love all women. 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 I'm an older man that love all women. I'm an older man that love all women.
It's not creepy.
I'm an older man that love all women.
Oh, yeah, it's
I'm
creepy.
an older man that love all women. All women.
Oh, my Lord.
All women. All women. All women. All women. I'm an older man that love all women.
All right, thank you guys for watching.
Stay classy, Play Club.
Bye. We are out.
Oh, that was fun.